Hi guys, I'm reading The Ghost of Fossil Glen, Chapter 12. Later that night, Allie lay on her back in bed, still and helpless, as someone's hands tightened menacingly around her neck. Slowly and with great strength, the hands closed tighter and tighter. Allie felt her lungs about to burst in her chest. Finally, in a frenzy, she managed to struggle free. She had a brief moment of relief before, gasping for air. She felt herself falling from a great height. She fell for a long time, it seemed, and as she fell, a peculiar thing happened. At some point, it was no longer she who was plunging through the air, but someone else. Allie was standing above, watching another girl drop slowly from a high precipice. That's like a big cliff. Black curly hair blew about in a tangled mass, then fell away to reveal the girl's face. Her eyes were wide and filled with fear, and something else, a terrible danger. Allie was vaguely aware of a threatening presence somewhere near her, but she couldn't pull her eyes away from the awful, mesmerizing figure of the tumbling girl who was about to hit the ground. Allie's hands flew to cover her eyes, and she awakened with a cry, her nightgown soaked in sweat, her heart pounding wildly. She tried to rise, but she was tangled in the covers and had to fight her way free. With a gasp, she threw the blanket to the floor and sat up on the edge of the bed. She shuddered as the cool breeze from the window hit her damp skin. Struggling through the hazy layers of sleep, she realized that she'd been dreaming. She reached to touch her throat, and the nightmare came rushing back. She remembered the feeling of hands closing around her neck, the desperate struggle for breath, the sickening sensation of falling. Allie moaned. What a horrible dream. She rubbed her eyes. It had seemed so real. The girl herself had seemed real. It was the same face that had appeared to her the day her journal arrived in the mailbox. Who was she? Allie got up and headed down the hall to the bathroom. She heard the murmur of her parents' voices as she passed their bedroom. On her way back to bed, she heard her own name and stopped to listen. Now she's eavesdropping. Think she should see someone about it? Said her mother. What do you mean, someone? Said her father. Like who? Like a counselor? A psychiatrist? Or a psychologist? Do you think it would help? I don't know. I don't even know if it's really a problem. She's always had an active imagination. It's not something I want to discourage exactly. It's just that I hate to see her lose friends over it. So do I. And I worry sometimes that she doesn't know the difference between what's real and what isn't. This thing about the words appearing in her journal, I know, it's peculiar to say the least. There was silence for a minute. Allie waited expectantly. Her father spoke again. Let's give it a while. She's really such a level-headed kid, and she seems okay except for this thing with Karen and PM. You know, 6th grade girls can be cruel to one another for no good reason, Mrs. Nichols said thoughtfully. Maybe that's what's going on, said Mr. Nichols. She gets along fine with Dub, and her teacher seems quite fond of her. Her grades are good. You're right, said Allie's mother. I'm probably worrying too much, making a mountain out of a molehill. There was a long silence during which Allie anxiously held her breath. Finally, her mother said, Let's keep a careful eye on her for a while, though, shall we? Good idea. Quietly, Allie let out a sigh of relief. Her parents weren't going to make a federal case out of the situation, at least for the moment. She tiptoed back to bed, vowing not to give her parents any further reason to worry about her.